Okay, Chapter 9, Lesson 3 talks about two-way tables. So we're a little bit further into the chapter on statistics. So this talks about making a two-way table, things that involve more than one part. Let's look here at the Venn diagram that's on this page. Venn diagram is one way to display the information, and then we are going to take the information from this and make a two-way table. So it talks about students. The data from the survey of 440 students are shown in the table. The students were asked whether or not they were on the honor roll and whether or not they played a sport. So you've got honor roll, no honor roll, sports, no sports. There's going to be an overlap, and of course there are going to be people who do neither. So whenever you talk about that, we can compute the relative frequency. So it's the ratio of the value of the subtotal to the value of the total. So we would say relative frequency of honor roll. It would be how many ever kids are on honor roll, 115, divided by the total of 440. Or how many ever people play sports, only play a sport, would be 45. So 45 divided by 440. You've got 250. These are people who are in the middle here, right? Because you can be an honor roll and play a sport. They are not exclusive events. So you can do both. So it'll be 250 divided by 440. That's the majority of the people. So that's pretty good. Smart people and athletic. Kind of like myself. All right. Is there evidence that students play sports and also on the honor roll? Of course. That would be the overlap that are there in the middle. So let's take this information and let's make a two-way table using that same information. So basically what you are talking about, you're talking about playing a sport, not playing a sport. On the honor roll, not on the honor roll. So you've basically got four different things here. If you have studied heredity in science class in the Punnett Square, then that's what you're talking about. Okay, kind of like the mom's genes, the dad's genes, and what they could create together. So if you talk about playing a sport and on the honor roll, that's both of them. Playing a sport not on the honor roll, so sports only. Do not play a sport but are on the honor roll. Do not play a sport and do not appear on the honor roll. So when we say find, where are we at here? Yeah, some of them represented by rows and the other categories represented by columns. So if you want to find the relative frequency of that, you would take the total divided by and the number playing a sport divided by the total, or the number not playing a sport, whatever it wants you to do. But it will ask you to find the relative frequency either by row or column. So that is important. All right, let's look at this first example. Felipe surveyed students at his school. He found that 78 students owned a cell phone and 57 of those students own an MP3 player. There are 13 students that do not own a cell phone but own an MP3 player. 9 students do not own either device. So this is what we've got so far. 57 own an MP3 player and a cell phone. No cell phone but an MP3 player is 13. 9 poor little soldiers have neither one. Construct a two-way table. Now, that's all you've got so far, but you could figure out the others. If you know that there's a total of 78 kids who own a cell phone, and 57 of those also have an MP3 player, you could take 78 minus 57 and get the ones that own a phone but do not, own a phone and do not own an MP3 player. So if we know out of the no cell phone, 13 of them have this, 9 of them don't have anything, so together that would be 22. And now you can figure out the totals. 57 plus 13, 70. 21 and 9. And what do we got right here? 78 and 22 is 100. Also notice that these add up both ways. Okay, so you can try under got it, top of the next page. You can fill in your numbers. So pause that and try that, please. Come back with me. Okay, so it says that there are 150 children at summer camp and 71 are signed up for swimming. There are a total of 62 children that were signed up for canoeing and 28 of them also signed up for swimming. Construct a two-way table summarizing the data. So we know that we have total of 62 children that signed up for canoeing. So 62 children signed up for canoeing. That takes care of this number. And 28 of them also signed up for swimming. So 28 of them also signed up for swimming. So out of this total of 62, 28 of them signed up for swimming as well. So they did canoeing and swimming. That takes care of this one. 71 signed up for swimming. 71 signed up for swimming. That's a total of all the swimming. 71 signed up for swimming. That takes care of that one. And there are 150 kids at the summer camp. That tells you that's a total of the totals. 150 kids altogether. So let's get some information here. So if we know that 28 also do swimming and there's a total of 62, 62 minus 28. So that would be 34. 34 did canoeing only and no swimming. If I know that there are 71 total swimmers, but only 28 signed up canoe, 71 minus 28. That would be a 343 did no canoeing. Let's see, what else can I do here? I know that there are a total of 150 kids. If I take 150 minus 62, I can get how many did no canoeing at all. So that would be an 8, and it would be 14 minus, that would be 88. 88 would go here. And if I take 150 minus 71, I would get 79. I can do that part in my head. So I've got 79 minus 34 should give me 45. And again, you can check all of these because all of these rows, 28 plus 43, 71. 34 plus 45, 79. 62 plus 88, 150. Not only do rows add up, but 28 plus 34, 62. 43 plus 45, 88. 71 plus 79, 150. These add up to 150. These add up to 150. Everything has to balance, kind of like your checkbook is supposed to. Okay, so now we're going on to interpreting relative frequencies. So it's the exact same thing what we did, just a little bit further. Okay, so back to example 1 that we did earlier about the cell phone and the MP3 player. This is the data that we had. All right. It says to find and interpret the relative frequency of students in the survey by row. And that is the important part right here. It says by row, which means it wants the relative frequency using these totals down here. All right, so this is the total, this right here. So if they want it by row, then I'm going to take 57 divided by my total for the row. Not my total this way, because that would be totals for a column. 21 over 78. We do not leave these as fractions. Go ahead and divide them out. So I would have approximately 0.73 and 0.27, which makes sense because if this is the total that represents the whole thing, that should have a value of 1. So this decimal plus this decimal should add up to 1. All right, so to get this one by row, the relative frequency by row, I'm going to take 13 divided by 22. 13 divided by 22, 59 hundredths. 9 divided by 22 should give me 41 hundredths. So 0.59, 0.41, add together, 1.00, or 1. So again, what do you do with this? Well, in this one, nothing. Now, if they would have said use columns, then we would have done nothing with these numbers. But again, it said by row. So that's what we have to do. Pay careful attention to what it wants. Careful attention to what it wants. Okay, last one. Pause it and try this one. Interpreting relative frequencies. Notice what it says. It says by column. So make sure you are using the column total. Okay, so if I take, let me get my calculator up here. Let's just do the MP3 player column right here first. So I would take 57 divided by, what's my total? 70. 0.81, and again, I'm running it to 2 decimal places. Oops, get my pen up here. 0.81, 81 hundredths. And no cell phone would be 13 divided by my total, which is 70. Again, round to the nearest hundredth, 0.19. What should these add together to get? This is my total. Should add up to get 1, and it does. Let's try this one. No MP3 player, but a cell phone. Be 21 divided by this column's total, 30. 0.7. Want to guess what this one might be? This should be 0.3. Let's try it. 9 divided by the total, which is 30, and it is 0.3. And again, these should add up to get a total of 1. So that's the relative frequencies. And it says round to the nearest hundredth. That's what that is. Now, if they come out even, obviously, there's not much you can do about it. You can put a 0 on there if you wish, but that's what we've got. Okay. So with that, that's a pretty straightforward lesson, I think. Again, probably the best advice I can give you is pay attention to what it's talking about. It's either going to say by the column or by the row. So some of them, they're not going to give you a nice, easy thing where you don't have to guess. Like they would have the extra column totals out here to where they would put those together. All right? So just pay, kind of like this one on the guided practice does. So just pay attention to what they're asking you. Other than that, you should be fine. Any other questions, let me know. Good luck.